Hi, today I'd like to show you how to do a provisional cast on using two sets of needles, and yeah, I'm working in the round. So here we go. You need two sets of needles. You need your working needles that you need for your project, which are actually these, the number 4. And then you need another set pair of needles. It can be smaller, same size, not larger. I wouldn't go larger, just smaller or the same size. And for this example, I'm only going to cast on 20 stitches. So I'm going to hold my two needles together, hold my tail end together, and just wrap my working yarn 20 times around my two needles. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Not too tight. 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20. And there we go. I'm cast on. If you're afraid of losing the stitch like I just did here, you could have done it. You could do a slip knot and put it on your bottom needle. I don't particularly love slip knots, so I'm just going to leave it there, and I'm not too worried about it. And then I'm just going to go ahead and knit my first row. Since my working needle is my top needle, I'm going to pull my bottom needle out so it's out of the way, and I will just ignore it from now on. And I'm just going to work with my top needle. So let's count. I have 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 14, 16, 18, 20. So this loop has to come in from underneath the cable here. And I'm just going to knit this first row. It's a little awkward with a cable. It just feels funny, I guess, is the best description I can give you. Like there's something holding me back or giving me resistance. So it's a lot of people, there's some people that really just don't like this technique, and that's fine. There's at least 2 other videos I've shown with different ways of doing provisional cast-ons that you can choose from, all just as good and viable. I just find this is the quickest cast-on. Okay, and when we finish, oh, I split that one. When we finish, I will count to make sure I still have my 20 stitches and that I didn't lose any. Especially this last little one that seems to be a bit of a stowaway. Okay, so 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 14, 16, 18, 20. And on the bottom, I should have 22. Let's see, 2, 4, it's harder to count them. 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 14, 16, 18, 20. Perfect. And now I'm just going to start working in the round. So like I said, we are going to ignore the stitches on the cable here. They are being held until we're ready to come back and join them. And this is a technique that you can use when you're doing a cuff. So I've used it for the socks that I have here. You can see the inside. I knit, I came around and I joined. So it's a nice thicker cuff around here. So you could use it for socks. You can use it for the rim of a hat, for mittens, for the neck part of a sweater, for a lot of different techniques. So this is a fun technique to know. But again, there's 2 other videos I've got on my website with different provisional cast-ons. So we're here, And now we want to start working in the round. So I'm going to divide my stitches into 10. 2, 4, 6, 8, 10. So that I have half and half. So I pull my yarn through. And I don't need to divide them on my cable underneath. Again, I'm just going to really ignore that. And so now I push my stitches onto my needle. And so now I have 10 and 10. My working yarn is coming out of the stitches from my back needle. So if the yarn is coming out from there, that means I've already worked those stitches, so I can't work them again. So I'm going to pull this needle out, turn around, and come and knit these stitches. Now at the beginning, oh, everything's getting mangled here, sorry. At the beginning, you might have a bit of a gap between the stitches and between the ones on this side, and that's okay. It'll disappear, and if it doesn't, it's going to be on the inside of your project, so you won't see it. And my tail end, I'm just gonna stick it in at some point. So you're just going to knit. I keep splitting my yarn, my goodness. So yeah, you just keep knitting all the way around. I'm going to do one round to show you. And when I do this, I have a loop on this side and a loop on this side, which allows me to work in the round with fewer stitches. But even if I had 70 stitches from a hat and a cable this size, I would still want to do the bunny loop, or if I had socks, I'd still want to do this bunny loop. So I finished. I'm going to drop that needle, turn my work around this way, and now I have these stitches I need to work with, the ones that are on this side. So I'm going to push my needle in, and it's all from the same needle. Like you can see, this needle, the cable comes to this needle. I'm trying not to confuse my other stitches, and this needle. If you find that it's too tight because you haven't divided the bottom stitches, you can divide them. Like I'm just gonna pick a random point here and just divide it up. There. If you find that that makes it easier, you can have lots of different loops. People find this technique confusing because you have so many needles. So you can, maybe might not be the best option for a beginner, but if you're a more confident knitter, it's a pretty fun option because your needles are ready to go whenever you need to pick up your stitches on the other side. So again, I finished. I have my stitches that I need to work on here. My stitches I've already worked on are on my top needle. So I'm going to pull my top needle out, push my bottom needle in. It's tight because I wanted to close the gap. And you're going to knit across the 10 stitches that are here. And then you would have finished a row. Okay, and when you reach this end where the tail yarn is, you know you finished your row. So then that's it. You turn your work around again. Sorry, the needles are noisy. You turn the work around again. You make sure you use the right cable to pull that needle through. Bring it back up to your stitches. Push it in. If you have, again, really tight, this one where the working yarn is coming from, I'm going to pull the needle out, push this one in. Hopefully I have more give now. and I work across this, and I keep working in the round for whatever the pattern tells me, 10 rows, 15 rows, and then we join these stitches with these stitches, and I'll show you how in just a second. Okay, so now I've knit my 10 rows, or however much I need to knit before I join my 2 needles. So these are my working needles up here, and you can see that these are my provisional stitches. They look kind of looser and more wonky and not as structured as my knitting, my working stitches. So what we're going to do is we're going to bring the needles from your provisional stitches in through the middle from the bottom and work them up so that it'll look like we're turning our work upside down, inside out. But essentially what I want to do is I want to marry each corresponding needle to itself. So like have this one with this one. There is no easy way of doing this, so it's going to be really messy the way I'm trying to show it. So here we go. And it's a small sample, so it's a little bit harder. You'll probably have more stitches, so it'll probably be easier than this. And the loop. Okay, here we go. So now I've flipped my stitches in. Whoa. Okay, here we go. So I have my provisional stitches on the inside, my working stitches on the outside, and I should have 10 and 10 on each side. So I'm going to count 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 2, 4, 6, 8, 10. Let's count the ones on the inside. I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. So I'm going to pass one from here, because I have 11, over to the other side. There we go. Now I have 10 and 10, and I'm going to turn my work as I've been doing all along. So I have my working yarn coming out of my back needle, which means I now need to push my bottom needles in. I'm going to push both of them in. And I'm going to join the stitches. I don't want to use the needle that's attached to the inside stitches, because those are my provisional stitches. So I'm just going to pull that out so I don't get confused. And I'm going to use my working needle, which is attached to the stitches outside, to knit these 2 rows together. Okay, so the way we do that, it's easy peasy. That first stitch is a little wonky. Notice how it's crossing over, so make sure you just knit through the first one. So you're going to go in through the front leg of the stitch in the front needle and in through the back leg of the stitch on the second needle. And then you take them off. Look, look. Okay. Now we go into the front leg of the front needle, and now we can go into the front leg of the back needle. We went into the back leg of it because it was twisted, so it wouldn't have worked the other way, but this stitch is on properly, and it's easier to work them this way. So the front leg of the front needle and front leg of back needle, and I bring it through the back, through the front, and then I take off the stitches. Again, front leg of the front needle, and now the stitch is twisted again. So when I say twisted, the left leg is in front, and usually if you notice this stitch, the right leg is in front. So when the stitch is not twisted, it looks like this. The right leg is in front, and when the stitch is twisted, the left leg is in front. So if it's twisted, you want to knit into the back. So I'm going to front, back, and knit those 2 together. come back through both and take it off. Again, front, back, knit through those two together and take it off. Does it matter if you do front back or if you do front front? No, it does not matter. It's in the inside of your project and no one is going to see this. It doesn't make any difference. So if for some reason you get distracted and you forget what you're doing and you decide and you end up doing a front leg and another front leg, it doesn't affect the final result. It's still going to look beautiful. And I split my yarn. Oh boy, it's one of those days. So let's say I went into the front. You'll also find it harder going to the front when the stitches are twisted. There. Taking it off and off. Okay. Oh, I miscounted. Oh, well, I'll show you what happens if you do this. You always have to have the same number of stitches, but I'm short one. So I must have miscounted. Anyway, so it doesn't matter if you're going to the front or back leg, as long as in the front stitches, the ones we see, we're always going in the front leg. Otherwise, you will have a twisted look. Okay, so now I have one stitch left here, but none on my spare needle. So that's okay. I'm just going to pull it through and I'm going to carry it to my other side and incorporate it here. And if I'm missing any stitches, this is where I would use my tail yarn that I have here that I left really short to create any extra stitches if I need. But again, if you don't do that and you have an issue with it, it doesn't matter. It's on the inside of your project and you will not see it. Even if you have a little hole, it doesn't matter. Okay, so we're going to pull all our needles through back into the stitches. And we pull this needle out and we are ready to continue front leg, back leg, and knit. Take off. Front leg, back leg, knit, take off. Well, I have just the right number of stitches, which is perfect. But again, if I had been short, I could have just made one up. Oh, actually, I am short. This isn't a stitch. This is the working yarn. So I am short a stitch. So it's perfect. I can show you what we do. We come and grab our tail yarn. I wish I left a longer tail yarn, but I didn't. So we come and grab the tail yarn and we just wrap it around the needle and hold it with our fingers as best we can. And then we just knit and knit it and bring it back through. But again, like I said, it's not going to make a huge difference and it doesn't really affect the final look. Because I moved one stitch over earlier, I have now 9 here and 11 here. So I want to organize my stitches again. So I have 10 and 10 for whatever the project I'm doing. If I'm doing socks, I will need to increase and decrease for the heel. If I'm doing a hat, I'll do certain decreases. So sometimes if the pattern indicates to have a certain number of stitches, after I do my putting all my stitches together, then I make sure I have my stitches properly aligned. And there we go. Here's your little cuff. And the inside, you can't really see what happened. So I have other samples here of what the inside looks like. You can never see if there was a hole you can't see that there was a hole. Let me see my other example. Again, you can't see. So like I said, if you have a missing stitch and you're just the last one, you're just knitting alone, it's okay. It doesn't matter. It'll still look great. I hope that was helpful.